Hey everyone, just wanted to share some things that I've learnt over the years in regards to protein powders and stocking up on them as something for preps as a protein source, so that hopefully you don't end up spending a fortune on what is essentially icing sugar when you're trying to build up a supply of protein. I've been wanting to make this video for a long time, from researching different protein supplements and getting into bodybuilding, and well, even before I was into bodybuilding, I was looking into protein supplements as something that I could add to my long-term food storage and prep. What we're looking for as preppers is a shelf-stable source of protein, but preferably something that we can consume through our day-to-day lives so that we can have a rotating stock. If you're not going to eat any of this stuff, then it doesn't really matter. Now, I go through a lot of protein powder because I've gotten into bodybuilding. Every couple of months I do a big order and I buy a ton of it in bulk. So I really do go through this stuff quite fast. Though even if I didn't, it's very shelf stable. Now, a lot has been said about the shelf stability of powdered skim milk. Some people believe that if stored correctly, it will last for decades, possibly forever. I don't know. This is just what I've heard. I've not heard anyone really say much about powdered protein. However, this was pretty close to its use-by date when I bought it. I got this heavily reduced in price because it was close to its use-by date. And so I got that big tub. I'm not a fan of paying full price for this kind of stuff because I've noticed that it goes on massive sales quite frequently. Chemist Warehouse, which is a chemist in Australia, quite frequently has protein powders for 40 to 50% off. So I wait for it to go on a huge sale, like 50% off, and I stocked up a bunch of containers. However, since then I've discovered an online company called Bulk Nutrients, and yeah, they're even cheaper than buying this stuff at half price. I've never heard of this stuff actually going off. Years ago when I was a teenager I had some that got a bit of moisture into it and went all clumpy, but if you keep it dry, I don't know how long it would actually last for. But it seems to be quite shelf stable, and regardless of all of that, a lot of the time these have very long shelf lives. Though even if it's only a shelf life of 2 years, I'll go through that in closer to 2 to 3 months. Actually, I can't even remember how long it would take me to go through that. I go through a lot of protein powder. I also use it as part of my regular diet because it's a low calorie source of protein and I can mix it in with other things, but yeah, I do consume quite a lot of protein powder. It's just the way I do things. Now, the downside to bulk nutrients is they don't have these containers. These containers have no protein powder in them. I've washed them out and I'm using them for rice. So I kind of wish they'd send me free buckets that I could reuse for my long-term food storage, but honestly, with the price difference, it's worth it going this way. Now, if we're stocking up or buying in bulk, we want a cost-effective option. So, okay. The way I look at this for prepping is how much protein am I getting per dollar? So you'd have to get your nutrients panel and you'd do some mathematics to figure out how much protein is in this per 100 grams, how much protein's in this per kilo, how many dollars are you paying per kilo, and do your math to work out how much protein there is per dollar you spend on it. Now, there are some differences in quality between these products in terms of amino acid profile. If you're going hardcore into bodybuilding, that's a bigger deal than if you're just trying to make sure that you don't run out of protein during a survival situation or a long-term, like, if you're in a long-term bug-in situation, which is important. I worked with a lady who decided she was going to go vegan. So she did it the way that basically every person who I know has been vegan says not to do it. She just cut the meat out of her, she just cut out all animal products from her diet and just was like, no, I'm going to go vegan, it's going to be healthy, it's going to be great. Within a month she could not walk from loss of muscle mass. So yeah, when you go vegan, you got to pay attention to that protein. I know it annoys people when you ask them, are you getting enough protein, when they say they're going vegan, but you know what? It can mess people up. So, you know, look at your amino. Let's not get sidetracked by the whole vegan nutrition thing, which is something I do find quite interesting, though the amount of misinformation in it just there's a lot of bad science out there. So yeah, we want to work out what's going to get us the best value for money for protein. Now this here is whey protein concentrate. And people will often tell you that it is inferior to whey protein isolate, because whey protein isolate is a pure form of whey protein. However, whey protein isolate is more expensive. So, for a price benefit standpoint, I go with whey protein concentrate. Now, if you have a sensitivity to lactose, this can be an issue, because this is higher in lactose than whey protein isolate. However, with a lot of whey protein isolates on the market, they're not pure whey protein isolate, because that's expensive. What a lot of companies do is they'll get whey protein isolate so that they can have the big whey protein isolate onto their ingredients or onto the front of it to be like, hey, we've got that high quality protein that's expensive that everybody says you should try and get. But then they turn around and they put a bunch of carbohydrates into it. So they charge you more money to take carbohydrates out of it to make it an isolate. And then to save money, they put different carbohydrates back in. Now, again, if you're sensitive to lactose, that can be a good thing. And there are some other reasons why you might prefer those different carbohydrates. However, I'm not going to pay that much for carbohydrates. Which brings us on to mass gainers. You might have seen the big tub with mass gainer and thought, yeah, that could be great for the survival food. And looked into it. Those tend to be, well, this is higher in protein than most mass gainers. Most mass gainers, the main ingredient is some form of carbohydrate, and a lot of times it can be a very highly processed, fast absorbing carbohydrate. Basically icing sugar. Do you pay $30 a kilo for icing sugar? Do you pay $30 a kilo for any carbohydrate? normally. I don't pay that for rice, I don't pay that for pasta, I don't pay that for potatoes, I don't pay that for bread, I don't pay that for oats. So if you're stocking up and putting a huge stockpile away of food because you want a certain number of months or years worth of food, are you gonna have enough money to spend that much on just carbohydrates? I mean, no, I'm not doing that. So, you want to work out how much protein you're getting per dollar. And the absolute best value for protein per dollar I have found is home brand skim milk. I'd have to redo the math, but it is even more protein per dollar than the whey protein concentrate. However, this has a lot more calories per the amount of protein you're getting. So for my day-to-day bodybuilding lifestyle, I'm getting whey protein concentrate because I can handle the lactose and I can handle the extra carbohydrates that are in concentrate versus an isolate. I don't actually think these are true isolates. I think these are whey protein blends. Now, also, the amino acid profile in whey protein is different to the amino acid protein profile in skim milk, which is more important if you're into bodybuilding and nutrition for maximum muscle growth. Not as big of an issue if we're talking prepping. But I can get away with the extra calories in this. I don't think I could get away with the extra calories in this. And the amount of milk I would have to drink if I was replacing my whey protein concentrate with skim milk, I don't think my digestive system could handle that. This is almost like 3 cups of milk. What is it? It's almost a litre of milk for 30 grams of protein. That's a lot of lactose, that's a lot of dairy. I'm not really lactose intolerant. I can handle lactose, I can handle dairy. But if I'm having like 2-3 litres a day, I don't think I could handle all that. And I don't think I could handle the extra calories that come from skim milk versus whey protein concentrate. So I go with a whey protein concentrate. But I don't need to be as strict with the calories as someone who might need to go with a whey protein isolate. But also, for it's more cost effective, and it just works for what I'm doing. So, yeah, if you're considering just buying a bunch of whey protein to store for some kind of scenario where you might have to bug in, or possibly containers so you can bug out, you might want to do some maths and figure out, is the cost of it worth it? And, but if you're just wanting some powders to stock up, skim milk is maybe something you want to look at. That said, you wouldn't want this to be your sole source of protein. You probably wouldn't want any of these to be a sole source of protein because you'd get sick of just having the one thing. But it could be something you could add. However, I'm definitely rotating in whey protein because that is part of my bodybuilding lifestyle. Yeah, bulk nutrients is the cheapest option I've found for protein. As far as I know, they only ship to Australia and New Zealand. So for anyone overseas, you might want to just look at what's available online and in shops around you and do the math of the different proteins. I should probably mention quickly some stuff about non-dairy protein powders. Okay, so if you are a vegan or a vegetarian, then that kind of dictates what you're looking for. However, if you're not a vegan, I don't really see a reason to stockpile those kinds of protein powders. And I don't have the knowledge or time to go through every single alternative blend of protein or every different type of plant-based protein, but let's take pea protein as an example. It's very cheap, as if you just get pea protein concentrate, it can be very cheap. However, it does not have a complete amino acid profile. There's certain types of proteins that your body needs that it doesn't have. So if you're doing a huge stockpile of just pea protein, that could lead to some nutritional issues. Not saying that this could not potentially lead to nutritional issues, but there are things that are in other protein sources that you might find desirable. But many vegan protein sources, if they come from a single plant source, a lot of times they don't have the entire list of essential amino acids, meaning that if that was your only source of protein, you could become deficient in certain types of protein that your body needs. Which brings us to blends. They take different types of plant proteins and they blend them together. There are some plants that you can get the entire range of amino acids from, but alternative to that, you've got blended but an alternative to that is you've got a blend, which I don't know of any brands that are as good as whey protein in their amino acid profile with the amino acid leucine, so they're not as good for building muscle. You could design a vegan protein powder that is high in leucine and has very similar amino acid profiles to whey protein. You could design that. I don't see why you could not combine different plant-based amino acids to make a really high quality substitute for whey protein. That's going to be expensive. If you know of a company that is doing that and it's still cheaper than whey protein concentrate, please send me a link. Although, how are they making money doing that? I don't know. But yeah, plant-based stuff can be deficient in some amino acids. This is just a fact of life. And there are blends in order to get around this issue. But those can be very expensive and not always as potent as whey proteins. So I definitely stick to my milk-based proteins. Yes, I know, skim milk is not a whey protein, although there is whey protein in it, I believe, technically. Because it's milk, right? So it should have whey protein and casein protein, shouldn't it? Are you sure? Anyway. Alternatively, there's other things like egg protein concentrate, which is also very cheap. Maybe that's something you want to look into. Don't know if I really want to be stuck in a bunker or locked away with someone who's eating a lot of that, because I have heard that it causes hearts. This is just some food for thought. And hopefully you can apply this to your situation and figure out what's going to work best for you. But yeah, just wanted to share a little bit of knowledge of what I've learnt and how I look at this as a prepper. Another thing. If you're planning on bugging out with this as your food supply, how are you adding water to it? If you just have one of those life straws as your means of purifying water and a tub of protein powder, that's going to suck. I'm going to have to do a video sometime explaining why I am not a huge fan of life straws I mean, yeah, I've got them, and I think they're a good product for what they are, but there's a lot of things people don't realise, and there's a lot of things people need to reconsider. Alright everyone, I hope this video has been somewhat helpful for anyone out there who's been considering buying protein powder as part of their preps or as part of their survival strategies. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and if you like this video, please share it on social media, and hopefully we can get some of this information out there. So, you know, hopefully we can help people not spend $30 a kilo on icing sugar when they're actually trying to stock up on protein. Alright everyone, see yous.